Hey everyone, and welcome to the podcast. This is your host Yoshino, and you are listening to Artist Decoded. This is my second conversation with artist Cj Hendry, and she came on the podcast this time to talk about her newest and eighth solo exhibit entitled Blonde, which will be a two-part presentation at Brookfield Place in New York City from December 10th through the 12th. Now, let me read you a bit in CJ's words about what Blonde is about. Blonde is an exploration of wigs as visual language, self-expression, actualization, or facade. There is an undeniable interwovenness between identity, ego, and appearance, which is never fixed. Wigs in their transformational impermanence support this fluidity, and the duality between one's inner and outer self, and how we choose to show up in the world in varying contexts and iterations. There isn't another physical object I have drawn that has the same physical and emotional transformational power. So this exhibit is free to the public, and 100% of the sales will be donated to the Ali Forney Center, an organization that supports LGBTQ plus youth in New York City. So if you're in New York, you should definitely go check it out. I am a little jealous because I wish that I could go myself, but I'm stuck in the desert. And another topic that I had to talk to her about was her NFT release on Super Rare. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it has to do with copyright infringement, which CJ is somewhat famously known for. From what I know, her lawyers had to get involved, but that's all I'm going to say right now because you're about to listen to this podcast. But before we begin, please go to our iTunes page, click on that shiny little 5-star review, and if you can, leave us a written review as well because it helps reviewers just like yourself to hear about this very podcast. So here it is. Without further ado, my conversation with Cj Hendry, and hope you enjoy it.
Been recording the whole way. Anyway,
oh shoot! Yeah, we should have. Oh well.
No, all good.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well, thanks for doing this.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me on again. I can't. This is part 2.
I know.
Hope I live up to the expectations.
Me too. I hope I don't. I hope I don't fuck up.
Oh no, you'll be great. You do this. You do this. This is what you do. You're good at this.
Oh, thanks. No, I appreciate that. Well, I guess we can start off the conversation before we jump into your show Blonde. But I really am interested in some of the copyright infringement stuff that you do.
Yes. What would you like to know in particular? Once again, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know much. But any questions you have, I can answer them as smartly as I know how.
Well, I guess
I just smartly at all.
I just love the spirit of the idea because it's definitely like this play on, people use these terminologies to make some sort of sense out of the things that don't make any sense. Cause when you think about just copyright infringement in general, it's kind of preposterous when, people, for instance, that copyright infringement NFT that you did. And
I think some of my best work. Anyway, I don't want to boast. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I thought it was fucking hilarious. He didn't think it was so funny though. But yeah, continue.
I want to get your take on it. I definitely want. Obviously,
yeah.
We don't have to listen to me talk about postulate ideas about your intentions or anything.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I just thought that idea was just so interesting. Because you're essentially playing with the notion of, because I'm a photographer too. I've done it commercially, and the way that you get notoriety as a photographer a lot of the times is by shooting people that have some sort of celebrity status to them, right? So in a way, it's you're identifying yourself through those people because you were given the opportunity to shoot those people, right?
Yeah, okay. Good way to explain it.
And so you're kind of playing with this idea of like the photographer creating an identity around the people that he's shooting, and then you take that image and then, draw it essentially, right? And then
Yes.
just I'm just really curious about that, like how that whole idea came to be.
So there's a particular photographer who I used his image, and I'll explain how it all started. I made a drawing out of this particular photograph that he made, and this photograph included Warhol and Basquiat. Together they have boxing gloves. I think their arms are crossed and they're standing together. It's a black and white photograph. It's very stunning. It's very beautiful. And I got a hold of the image and I made it into a drawing, quite a large scale drawing. And I just did it for myself because I really liked the image. And the goal was to always have it in the studio. And as I generally do, and what a lot of artists do actually, is they document the process of it being made or framed or whatever it might be. And the particular artist who took the photograph was not at all happy that I had done this drawing, and we were told to kind of remove all evidence that it was ever made. So, I think my Instagram account was like shut down for a month while I was figuring out what to do, and he was sending like lawyers were sending angry things to my lawyers, and it was just a big rigmarole. Anyway, I was allowed back on Instagram, but all documentation was taken down that this artwork was ever made. I'm like, no problems, I get it, no worries. I will hide the artwork in my studio. And we were told very clearly to destroy the artwork. I didn't destroy it. I kept it in the studio. I'm like, I'll destroy it one day. Okay. And it was framed and it was beautiful. And then I was like, this NFT thing was popping up. I was like, oh my, wouldn't it be funny if I destroyed this artwork? And I'd done this like 2 years ago. I'm like, what if I destroy that artwork and made it into an NFT, the one I was always meant to destroy? I'm like, brilliant idea. Let me document the process of me destroying it and me spraying. Literally, we took it out of the frame. So it was the original drawing. I just spent like months on this piece. I took it out of the frame and I documented. We had like cameras set up everywhere because obviously I didn't want to fuck up the filming of me destroying one of my artworks. And that's all. Did everyone press record? Yeah, they did. And so I was like, well, wouldn't it be funny to release the NFT of me destroying this artwork, which I was told to destroy because of copyright infringement? And, we filmed it, we released it as an NFT. I sold for a couple of 100,000 or whatever it may have sold for. And once again, the photographer had such a problem with it, and it was taken down off the NFT market. It's now been reinstated. My socials account once again were banned and stopped for even showing the destruction of it all happening. And so it's just perpetuated. But what's funny, I'm like, well, I destroyed it like you wanted me to do it, but I put a little spin on it and sold it as an NFT. So I don't know. I find it very funny.
Yeah.
But I can understand how people don't find it funny. But also, that is my sense of humor. I like to poke the bear, and that is what I do. And I also know that there's a lot of artists who use my work to reference / copy in a big way, and I'm very okay with it because I don't believe that I'm the first person to ever make hyper-realistic art, nor will I be the last, nor am I the only person who can draw paint or draw this or that or the next thing. And I think people copy and interpret and manipulate, or they don't manipulate, it's just verbatim, and I'm like, go for it, it's fine. I'm just doing my thing, and I'm really not too fussed because I think that's what encourages creativity and change, and maybe it allows other artists or creative to find their own storytelling. I'm not sure. So I don't particularly have a problem when it happens to me, but I think some people do have a problem when people may use their art. Maybe it's, I can't answer what was going through for him.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe he's on the way out and he still needs to earn money. Like, I'm not sure. But
yeah,
it was a really funny thing that happened. I thought it was hilarious. It's still an NFT, so the NFT market still thought it was acceptable. But there was a lot of discussion back and forth as to whether or not it was acceptable or not. But it's still in the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
as
still
an
on the
NFT.
marketplace.
Yeah, it's still on the marketplace, correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't have particularly strong views on it. I'm like, I think every artist has their own right, and he has his own right for copyright infringement, and he has his right to come after me, and he should if he chooses to do so. And it is what it is. It happened, and I thought it was brilliant and funny. But maybe I shouldn't say that.
No, I mean, feel free to say whatever you want. I mean, like I just think it's really interesting because, it's kind of maybe it's like a modern, humanistic, I don't know, sociological sort of a thing where, most people wouldn't want to get sued, but it seems
Yeah.
like you've had those experiences quite a bit. But I mean,
Yeah.
I wonder what goes on in your head. Do you generally just, yeah, I'm just curious, what goes on in your head?
So what goes on in my head is like, and this is probably the wrong attitude, could be a bit psychotic, like you choose, I don't mind. The way I see like being a creative is about pushing the boundaries. Well, for me, I like to push the boundaries, and I like to create conversation. I like, well, like I said, poke the bear. I like to test the waters. I also know, like, I didn't kill anyone either. So, if I was doing things like that, then rightly so. I think I'm a bit dodgy, but it's just creative visuals. Like, we're just having a bit of fun here. Like, artists, I still believe, are very unnecessary in the world. And I think you should just do your thing and leverage off other art and make your own art from it and start conversations. And that's how I approach my creative process and my practice. And I'm very liberal with allowing people to use my images because I think it's great for the art world and the market and people learning and whatever it is they want to do with it. Some people are more rigid and they don't like that to happen, and they have every right to do so. So, my take on something is not someone else's take on something, and I don't think everyone should do it the way I do it. Everyone should just do what feels right for them. And for me, I just do this because I'm an idiot as well. So maybe that has something to do with it. I have little to no regard for authority. So I think that could play into it a little bit. My mum always said I have this thing called defiance disorder, where I just kind of like do my own thing with no regard for what the consequences may be, and that's kind of carried through into my artistic practice.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, it's genuinely nothing to boast about, but I really don't. I'm not too fussed about it. Like I always bring it back to well, I didn't kill anyone. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, we'll all figure this out. It'll be fine. And when it comes to the money side of things, and people, I think maybe they just want money from it. I just think that's a whole tacky discussion. But if that's what their prerogative is, then go for it. We've got big lawyers too. Like, we can play the game, and we can afford to play it as well. So it's like, I'm not too worried about the financial ramifications, because I think the storytelling outweighs what it costs. You know what I mean? To kind of fight it. I just think it's more fun, the conversation, than the money loss or gain.
Well, that's the it's really interesting because I don't know. So I guess, from a social evolutionary psychology standpoint, like, most people are trying to self-preserve themselves. And especially in a hyper-capitalistic society where it's so heavily based on commerce and being able to sell your artwork and survive off your artwork as an artist. And but there's something really genuine about just the idea of playing with that notion of copyright infringement. And there's something kind of funny about that. And I like I like that idea that you kind of just don't care. And it feels very genuine too, like.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I'm coming from a very privileged position. I think I can afford not to care because I am an artist who does sell my work, so I'm very grateful for that. And I do appreciate that I am in that position. I think maybe if I was someone who wasn't in that position, maybe I'd be a bit more scared, but we do have the resources to play the game, so to speak. So yeah, maybe that has something to do with it as well. So I'm not going to pretend that, we can't afford to do it, because we can. We can afford to go back and forth just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm. But also that didn't just happen overnight too. I mean,
no, it was a long drawn out process.
Yeah. I mean, it took you a long time to sort of build this reputation. Where
that's what you mean. Yeah, of course it did. And by no means is my attitude now what my attitude was right at the beginning. I was far more conservative and worried about what people thought, and this because I was still building my profile and my practice. But now, I don't know. I just so enjoy being creative in whatever format that comes. I know what a privileged position I'm in to be an artist who is able to make money and do that type of thing. And I really do choose to have fun with it. And I really want to continue to, I hate the word fun because it seems so simple, but I do want to continue to keep doing things because of just doing them, not necessarily with how much it may cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think fun is a good word too. I think sometimes just being able to describe things simply, I think is almost better, because we kind of live in this world within the art world, especially. And what I was thinking is really funny is the other day I was thinking about a lot of these movies that are like horror movies that are based in the art world. And
yes.
And I'm just like, it totally makes sense. There's this like overlying pretentiousness. There's these like hyper capitalistic ideals. It's a wild, wild west. It's a free for all.
It is the wild, wild west, but I think the people who are in that realm, I think they're smart enough to play in that realm. I just don't think I'm smart enough. So hence I explain my art really simplistically because I'm like genuinely I don't know how else to say it because I'm good with visuals. I'm not good with words. So I don't pretend to, write these highfalutin artist statements because I wouldn't be able to back it up with the wording. I just kind of, my artist statement is in the physical nature of the art itself. I just do it via the visuals, not necessarily with all the art wank, so to speak, But I like the art wank. Sure. I understand why it's there and I understand why it's necessary. I just don't know how to do it because I don't think I have the capacity.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie by Ruben Östlund called The Square?
No.
I think you would really, really like that movie.
Where can I watch it? Actually, I'll Google it. I'm Googling it now.
I'm not quite sure where you can watch it, but the main character is Elizabeth Moss. Mm-hmm. And it basically is, takes place in this modern art museum. And one of the exhibits, for instance, is
HBO. Is it a comedy?
It's definitely a comedy.
2017 drama comedy. Okay, yeah. I'll watch that.
It's so good. Have you seen Force Majeure?
No, look, I'm not a movie person. I know a lot of series though. I'm really up to date with my series. Movies, I'm a little bit behind. I apologize.
Oh no, it's okay. I haven't watched everything. I'm not going to pretend like I have either. You know what I mean? But I only bring up that movie because that's another one of that director's movies. But The Square specifically is performed within the art world. And one of the exhibits in the movie is called Mirrors and Piles of Gravel. And
I'm looking at the images from this one's on IMDb. Yes, sorry, continue speaking.
And that's literally what it is. It's like mirrors and piles of gravel. And the film begins with Elizabeth Moss interviewing the curator of the museum. And then it's basically like this fucking bullshit statement about what the art exhibit is contributing to and the meaning of it and stuff. And the funniest,
isn't Elizabeth Moss fabulous?
Oh my God, she's
I'll watch
incredible.
It just because of her. Okay,
she's like one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, The Handmaid's Tale is like such a
and many others. She's also been on. Yeah, she's just very multidisciplinary, isn't she? She's really good. Really good at her job.
Oh, yeah. She's incredible. She's incredible. Yeah. I think, well, what I was going to say is that basically the statement of that art exhibit in the movie, Ruben Östlund, the director, is part of this art council in Sweden, and he actually verbatim took all of the words from an actual art exhibit that's one of his like colleagues wrote and put it in the movie and didn't even tell him. I think,
love that. That's copyright infringement 2.0 right there.
Exactly. I just think it's just like
Wonderful.
right up your alley for things that you would find hilarious.
Okay, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, you
and
love
you know
that.
what? To the art wank speak, I think it's brilliant and there's a place for it and there's a reason why it's always been there and it doesn't look like it's ever going to change. Like, who cares? It's like you just make the art that makes sense for you with an artist statement that makes no sense or not. There's no one way. I think especially nowadays, which is just wonderful, I don't think there's no one way to skin a cat. There's a million ways to exhibit your art, your practice, gallery, museum, independently. There's just whatever the fuck you want to do now. Maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that wasn't the case. But now I don't think there's any rules. And I even don't think people can keep up with rules if they think there are rules. There's not.
Definitely.
It's a wonderful time to be alive in a creative atmosphere, I think.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that I think about a lot is just life being your greatest experiment. And if you think about it like that, then you kind of take the weight off of a lot of things, of your actions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do you ever think about
that?
Just constantly, I don't spend much time thinking about it, but if we're talking about it, I think, it's constantly like, do something if it works or if it doesn't work. But I think for me, life's like just about doing things and you learn from each different interaction or thing that you may undertake and you can make improvements or continue to go down the way. I don't know. It's just life's the sum of your actions, so you just keep doing shit. Like the less you do, the less you're going to learn. So you just keep doing stuff and keep creating and maybe you'll get better at it or maybe you'll get worse, Yeah.
Definitely. So I was reading, I don't know if it was like an article or if it was a podcast that you're on, but you credited liking that James Clear book, Atomic Habits. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. What did I say in that? What was I talking about? That was in a live, I know where that happened. Sorry, but I can't remember what I was saying.
What was it about that book that you liked?
So there was a part in the book. Oh, this is what it was. There was, I think, 2 test subjects at a university, and the 2 test subjects, it was a photography class, I think, and the 2 halves of the class, one half was given the opportunity to make one perfect photograph throughout the whole year. You've got all year to make one perfect image, like the best image you can make. And then the other half of the class was to, just create often and constantly. And it doesn't need to be perfect. You just need to create. And in this lecturer's, I think this person's opinion, they mark the half of the class that constantly were creating, because you're reiterating, you're making improvements, you're failing, you've got a lot of opportunities to develop and grow. Whereas if you're just trying to create the one perfect thing, there's so much pressure on that to be perfect. And how do you know if it's good or not? Whereas if you're creating often and a lot, you've got a lot of opportunities to fuck up or get it right, So I think there was there's a lot about that book I like, but I thought that was such an interesting takeaway. And I actually think a lot of my practice comes down to that. Like, I don't think all my art's great, but I'm creating often and I create a lot, and my ideas, some of them are great, some are awful, but I'm just doing a lot all the time. And I think I get better and better at, with my creative muscle,
Exactly.
So I work on it, it's not something that I just kind of sit down and go, I'll just do this one thing. I'm like, it's constantly moving. And I really took that one little nugget away from that book. There was lots, but like I said, that one thing really stuck with me.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. No, I think, like, just to your point, if you think about the creation of art, it's really just about self-expression. So then when I think about something such as imposter syndrome, then what are you being really, if that's the case, right? Are you imposter to yourself, to your own self-expression, right? So it's like, how can you be an imposter?
Well, imposters, some people feel it because they, for example, might think that, I'm an imposter because I didn't go to university for that thing. But it's just like everyone's an imposter really, because you just got to start and impose yourself and then one day you'll get accepted or you won't. Like, you just got to jump in and do the thing. Especially art. You really don't have to go to art school for this. I think if you're a doctor, you probably do have to go to school to learn how to cut people open and shit. And I think that's, you can't really be an imposter. Well, yeah, exactly. I hope so. You can't really be an imposter when you're like a surgeon. But, like as an artist, like everyone's an imposter, like you go to art school to learn how to be creative. No, you've got it or you don't. You just got to work that muscle. You don't need to be taught how to. I think you just have to constantly try for yourself. So yeah, I'm an imposter, but like I don't spend any time thinking about it. I don't even think I'm that good at my job. I'm just like, I just create my own shit, because I like it. Not everyone's going to join me on that. Not everyone likes it either. So I'm like, whatever. Yeah.
Do you think that your training as a swimmer helped you prepare for your career as an artist?
Yes. But I also think my training as a swimmer helped me prepare for whatever it is I would have undertaken. And it just so happened that art is the thing that I'm doing now. I don't know if this is what I'll always be doing. But I think my ability to have hyper focus, is something I definitely learned from swimming, at that super high competitive level. But I think it could have helped me with whatever it is I got into in a huge way, for sure. I owe a lot of, my success to that ability to focus in a very, I don't quite know how to explain it, in a very intense way. It's not just a normal focus. It's a very weird, intense focus, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. And just for context, for the people that are listening out there, you were training to be an Olympic swimmer. Is that correct?
Yes, I was when I was younger, and by no means am I an athlete anymore. So don't give me too many props. I was a very good swimmer when I was younger, because that's what I just jumped into. But I was also, I don't think I was naturally talented in the slightest. I was a really hard worker. Yeah, so I worked really hard. I trained really hard, but I got to a stage, I think I was like 16 or 17, when I just missed out on the Australian Olympic team. And I just kind of sat down and thought, like, fuck me, this is a lot. Like I work so hard, but I don't have a natural ability. And I thought, I don't think I can actually get better. I don't think I can improve that much more. I'm already like at my capacity of how hard someone can work. And I think a combination of like hard work and talent is the perfect combination. And I just didn't have the natural ability side, but I had the hard work down pat. And so to the art point, I think I work really hard, which is great, but I do have that somewhat natural ability in being able to draw. Like I wasn't taught that. That was just something that kind of happened. So I'm really grateful that I've got that intense focus with natural ability.
Do you think some of your, speaking to that intense focus, and I know that you spend hundreds and hundreds of hours just sitting there and drawing on a piece of paper. Mm-hmm. Speaking of that intense focus, do you think that you get some of your best ideas when you're in that sort of meditative kind of atmosphere and space?
I do. I think being able to sit down and just be calm, and I find it a very zen place to be, is, I don't know, actually, so put it this way, I think I need a combination. I think being able to sit down and draw for so many hours is a real privilege, because I can just sit down and just like listen to podcasts and like not do a whole bunch. When I actually have to think of something, it requires me to not have a podcast on or a movie on. I just need to be thinking and looking at visuals and really thinking about what it is I want to achieve. Yeah, I don't know. It just kind of happens. Yeah. Creative things just it's an iteration game for me. Like it's, I go back and forth with it. So like say I'll be designing or conceptualizing an idea for an exhibition or a concept or whatever. I'll go back and forth and I'm like, does this, and I'll play it out in my head and I'll talk about it with my team, and we'll go back and forth, and it may just not pan out because I'm like, it just doesn't feel that exciting. And then I'll go back to the drawing board. I'm like, well, how about this? And then I'll just like spurt out an idea and it may start to make sense, or I'll go back to the drawing board. So it's very much like a back and forth game. Like for example, with this blonde exhibition that's coming up, it's like it didn't start off looking like this at all. It looked very different, maybe like 6 months ago, but iteration after iteration after iteration and trial and error and bringing a physical idea to life changes an idea a lot as well.
That's interesting that you say that, because ideas, I think, can really come from anywhere, right? You could literally be like taking a nap and then you wake up and you're like, oh wow, I came up with this like great idea, and that idea, spurs into something else. And so like, what were the first iterations of the show? What do they look like, if you can describe it?
So it weirdly, like, all my ideas and big concepts and big storytelling moments in the form of exhibition kind of start in the drawing department. So I have the concept and it's wigs, and they're generally pretty simple. They're these magnificent different wigs of different shapes, colors, and all the rest of it. And then from there, I just like to build out a bigger story. So in this case, I'd started drawing the wigs with no concept of, no idea yet of what, the exhibition may look like. And initially we had thought of like a photo booth type scenario where we'd get a couple of different photo booths made and we'd just plonk them around the city, and you can just walk into the photo booth and put on a wig and just be an idiot, like old school photo booth moments, and walk away with like a ream of, photos of you and your friends. But then we were thinking, we're like, oh, fuck COVID. Like, we can't just have everyone like wearing the same wig, that's like unhygienic. So like, shit, terrible idea. Like, what's a different idea? So it's like, ideas are great, but then when you have to put them into practical terms, sometimes they don't always work out, and so then for years we've been talking to Brookfield Place, like a big property developer, and they have a shopping center, and they're like, yeah, we love this idea. We have a space. Can you build the idea bigger? I'm like, well, shit, yes, I can. I don't know what that's going to look like yet, but, so it's like weird things like that. It started with the wigs, and then we went to photo booths, and then we got given the opportunity. We've got a space in a shopping center. I'm like, well, if it's in a shopping center, it's got to look like a retail moment. Like, I need it to, when people are walking past, I need them to just believe that a new store's open. They're like, oh wow, what's that thing? So essentially this idea is, it's actually a speakeasy. The front of it's a chocolate shop, unrelated to the idea out the back. And it's just very pink, and you'll walk past and you can buy chocolate, like, great. And if you're a passerby, you won't think anything more. You're just like, great, a chocolate shop's opened. But if you do know what might be going on, you might explore a little further, and there'll be a secret door, and you'll be able to walk through to whatever it is that's going on behind the chocolate shop. So, I just kind of lent into like, wow, we're in a shopping center, retail. Let me build a retail store at the front and then the exhibition out the back. So that is now the concept for Blonde, but that wasn't how it started by any stretch.
So what exactly about wigs draws you in so much?
Oh my gosh. Well, so it's weird. I don't wear too many wigs myself. I think the only times I've ever worn wigs is for like silly dress ups and costumes, but I do really like, and that's what I find interesting. It's not necessarily something that I interact with on a daily basis, but I always have held wigs in a really high regard in terms of what they can do for a person or to a person. So you can completely transform yourself. Like, yes, you can do that with makeup or like a physical costume, but for me, wigs just seem like a really fun, super quick, super cheap thrill way to do that. With makeup, you kind of have to have a bit of skill, and there's so many wonderful things, like tools and techniques and brushes, and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. That seems really difficult. And I'm like, but you just put on a wig and boom, different person, like put on a bright pink wig, like off you go. So for me, wigs are like an instantaneous way to transform yourself if you choose to, and you can become someone. You can be an actor in your own film. Like, you do you with a wig. So I think they really have a huge power.
Well, that reminds me that I should probably dry off my bright pink wig and start wearing it on a daily basis.
Right. It's like, I don't even actually own any wigs personally, but I've spoken to a lot of people when you talk about wigs, like, oh my God, I've got a wig collection. I'm like, what the fuck? You have a wig collection? Like, people have wig collections. Like, this is a normal thing, you know? Which is fascinating to me. So,
definitely. Yeah. I was thinking also just about, the idea of like dyeing your hair. And I remember
Yes.
I was just writing this morning about when I was in 8th grade, and you have a certain, well, at least I did at the time, had a certain need and sense for rebelliousness and an identity, and being able to dye your hair seemed like some sort of
thing. I totally understand.
Right? Yeah.
And so, what color did you dye your hair?
Oh my
Did you
God.
do a color, or did this like blonde, or like what? What direction did you go?
Well, that's kind of the thing. I mean, like I wrote like a whole thing on it, but basically, like I went with my mom to the store, and we found the person on the Revlon cover that had like the blondest hair, because I wanted to dye my hair blonde. But the thing with people that have really fucking dark hair is that you have to dye it for a long time. You've got to fuck up your hair.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you do.
Otherwise, it looks like a dirty Q-tip. You know what I mean?
I know. And it looks like a bit orangey. Yes.
I know.
Oh my,
yeah.
Did you go the whole way blonde?
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh my God.
No.
That would have burnt your hair. Oh my Lord.
Oh, totally. Jeez. Yeah. But I don't know. I just think it's funny, right? Just the.
Do you know what's like, love them or hate them? I love them personally. Sue me. So something I didn't realize is the Kardashians, for example, like Kylie Jenner. For a long time, I was like, gee, these girls are like changing their hair a lot, and holy shit, that's a platinum blonde. Like, they must be fucking their hair up badly. Someone's like, CJ, no, like those are like really beautiful, expensive wigs. I was like, you're fucking kidding. They look so real. So, a lot of celebrities use wigs to just transform themselves, and I find it fascinating. So very rarely do we actually see their natural hair, because they have these magnificent wigs which they, adorn, and they wear them and they look like different people, and it might be a black bob or like this magnificent mane of black hair or whatever it is they're doing. Like it shocked me. I was like, I didn't even know that they look so real. So you can have the fun, cheap, tacky party wigs, or like these legitimate wigs which become your hair and your weave. So yeah, wigs are really amazing.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And you said like, I think about in that context of just, celebrity and being able to have the resources and have tons of money to essentially transform yourself, right? But,
yes, it's amazing.
But I think about that, the idea of transforming yourself. But I also think like, well, how much of it is to hide from yourself, right?
Oh, there's that. I mean, a great point. Like, I don't know. We'd need to ask them. But that's what I'm interested in with Blonde, I think, for the portion of the exhibition out the back. Like, you get a wig upon entry. You don't know what wig you're getting. You just get given this bag with a wig inside of it. And, it could be a color. It could be short, curly, straight. Like, you don't know what you're getting. And, you can wear it if you want. You don't need to wear it. It really doesn't matter. But, I think what I find interesting is like a lot of people will be walking around with wigs on, and not everyone wears wigs on a daily basis, or not often. And so I think it'd be really interesting for people to kind of look at themselves in these mirrors and be like, holy shit, look what I look like with like pink curly hair. Like, wow, And also to speak to, and I can't speak from experience, but even the LGBTQ community use wigs a lot, in transformation when they become different characters and different people, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
So there's a huge transformative element in wigs, whatever it is that you're choosing to do, whether you are choosing to dress up, as a character, or just choose to change your gender and change who you may want to be for an evening or forever. Like, wigs have an extraordinary capacity to allow that change to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Just, I'm thinking about the exhibition and the wigs, and being, having people either put on the wigs or not, and, depending on what they want to do. But, it's kind of like dancing. Like, if you go out, you dance, and then, it's kind of an equal playing field in a lot of ways, because either you could lean into it and really be into dancing, or you could be very shy about it, right? So
yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like an invitation in a way, although maybe not a lot of people would see that. But
that's the thing. So what I like about some of the exhibitions that I have done, like, I don't I give you the opportunity to interact with it if you choose to, but by no means is that the expectation. Like you'll get a wig, whether you choose to wear it or not is like completely up to you. It really doesn't matter. But I think what is really interesting about wigs, I think a lot of people will put them on because it's like, how often do you just wear a wig around? Like very rarely, unless it's for something, for a reason. And, it is funny to put a wig on that is not your hair and to look at yourself and be like, oh my gosh, I do look so different. And wow, who could I be right now? I could go and do anything. You're like, yeah, you pretty much can. It's like wearing, how for so many years we've been wearing masks around. Like you could go and rob a store and, not that I encourage anyone to do this, but you could, because you get your mask on, no one's going to know who you are. It's a similar thing with a wig. Like, you can do all that shit.
I like to see.
Don't.
Yeah. Don't rob a store, please.
Don't, but
please
you could.
Yeah, please don't. I just kind of am thinking about the types of people that would walk into that exhibit and want to participate. Like I could imagine, the person, like the Wall Street executive that just walks in and, he's like 50 years old with a pot belly and, dark rimmed glasses on.
Absolutely. And that is a great way to think about it. Like there could be really young kids. There could be young girls or older women or really established collectors. Like there's a whole array of different people who will come to the exhibition, which I find really funny. And, I think it encourages play to a certain extent, once again, if that's what you choose to do. Yeah. And it's by no means is it excluding or exclusionary in any way. It's jovial and it has like a kitsch element to it. And I think a lot of people can identify with that. Not everyone's going to like it, and that's fine. But, it's more of like I always I don't know why, maybe I'm a child at heart or maybe I'm just not that smart, but I always somehow bring it back to like, what would kids like to do? And somehow a lot of my exhibitions it's very child friendly, and I don't know if I'm intending to do that, but it's always like downplayed to its lowest common denominator. Like, am I thinking of the youngest people who will be experiencing the exhibition first and foremost? Like, I'm not sure. I always kind of dumb it down to that level, always. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but there's always that, like, the very highly kitsch element to every exhibition, and I cannot not do it. I don't know why.
I mean, it makes sense in a lot of ways. It seems like you're inviting this sort of childlike playfulness into your perspective and your artwork, and then you invite other people to respond to that. And I mean, even doing the bounce house, for instance, I mean, that's very much like bringing this playful element into there. And I wanted to talk to you about Straya too, because there's this Instagram post where you put, it was in Australia, and you said, one day I will explain what happened with this exhibition. This entire concept was redesigned in 6 days whilst in hotel quarantine. Ask me in 365 days from now when I have the energy. Do you have the energy to explain now? It hasn't been 365 days.
It hasn't, but like we're just recovering from the PTSD from the whole thing. So that exhibition, we had gone into the country. We had a whole exhibition planned with the museum in Australia. And the museum, while we're in quarantine, hotel quarantine, they kind of just said, hey, the renovations are not going to be done in time. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're already in the country. Like, we're about to start the exhibition. What do you mean they're not done in time? And they're just like, yeah, we're just not on schedule. I'm like, you could have told us this before we left, but that's fine. It is what it is. I'm like, well, fuck, Elsa. This is my studio director. I'm like, we're both sitting in different rooms in hotel quarantine. I was like, well, we're here. We need to do something. And so I said to the museum, I'm like, thank you so much for your time, but we're here and we have to execute on something. So the drawings were done. There was some type of half-baked concept with the museum, but I'm like, we're going to have to think of a new concept. And so we thought of a new concept very, very quickly. And we executed as best we could, but with very little time. So that's what that was all about. But it was by no means the idea that we were going in with, but we kind of were thinking on our toes very quickly. And that's a really pressurized position to be in, because for me, sometimes creativity, like I said, it's a iteration game. You know, it's a back and forth. You sit with the idea, you iterate it in your head, you talk about it, you might change it a bit. You know, it takes many, many months, sometimes years, and to be put under that level of pressure to have to execute it within a time frame was really overwhelming. But we did it, and it was fine. The exhibition was fine, but it wasn't what I what I wanted it to be. But it was fine, and it was okay.
Yeah.
And it was still monstrous and brilliant, and 700 tons of sand, and we executed fine.
Was it literally 700 tons of sand?
Yeah, it was literally 700 tons of sand in this like enormous warehouse space. So it was a good idea for given the amount of time we had, but it wasn't great. And I like great. I live by great, not good, you know. And so I think that was really, really hard to deal with, because I like to be exceptional, and I thought that exhibition was good, not exceptional, and that really hurts. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, that's life. Like, you know, but no one would have known. Like, they're like, that was a cool idea. I'm like, it was cool. It could have been great, but like, coulda, shoulda, woulda, like, stop whinging, get it done. We're on to the next one, you know?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So it's like, it is what it is. It happened, but it was the most extraordinary amount of stress and pressure to be put under in such a short space of time. So I think that's what was really overwhelming, was just the time frame and pressure. Yeah. But lots of learnings, lots of takeaways from it, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like you've had a good amount of time to digest that. And I think the most important thing is, I mean, what do I know about what's important? But I guess
think the important thing is, like, I also, you can sit with things and really internalize it and get fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
Or you're just like, that thing happened and we did our fucking best. It wasn't great. It was good. But that's going to have to do for now. And we're going to move on to the next one. And the next one's going to be great. And then we're going to get better and better at this. You know, and I am getting better and better. And the whole team's getting better and better at everything, you know. And it just didn't work out the way we had anticipated. And you know what? Not everything goes according to plan, but not generally to that extent. I think that was an extraordinary set of circumstances. But it happened, and it is what it is, and we did a good job, and we came out of it alive, and we're planning the next one, you know. So it's like, what are you going to do? Like, get pissed about it, or just like keep going, you know? Like, Who gives a shit? Life's hard. Get over it. Like, you know, do more shit. Like, you can spend your time whinging, like, or just like create more stuff, you know. And my choice is always just create more stuff, and I deal with the anger internally and personally, you know. I don't try to put that out there into the world, because also it's not good energy. Like, fuck that. Like, you know, if you just keep harboring like anger and frustration, I think it can come out in other ways, and I don't think that's healthy. So yeah, I do my best to just be like, oh yeah, happened, let's go on to the next, you know. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good outlook on that, because you are right. If you don't allow that anger and frustration, that energy to expel itself out of your body, you can, I mean, that's how people can get cancer and, you know, and different sort of diseases and ailments, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. And this is not to say, like, I'm not some psycho who's like, you know, like super happy all the time. It's like, it really got me down, but I'm like, I just have to put that aside and move on if I'm going to continue to build great things in the future, because you know, not everything's sunshine and rainbows. Like, shit goes wrong, and that's fine. Just get on with it and do other stuff. You know, no one cares. Just do it and do the next thing. Like, people are always waiting for the next thing. So I'm like, I've got another opportunity to showcase another idea, so it's not a big deal. And here we are, another idea. So it's like it's fine. Yeah.
Speaking of creating new things, since we last spoke, you had a kid.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience. I'm always curious about people that are working creatives and being able to balance that life of being a parent. And
are you a parent? I haven't asked.
Nope. Not yet.
No?
Not yet. Eventually.
Not that you know of.
not that I know of. Yeah, not that I know of. No, I mean, I think there's something just beautiful. Like, I love talking to people about about their lives with their kids, because I'm just so fascinated, and it's such like a mystery to me in a lot of ways.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you use the word mystery, right? So I'd always like seen, I've always just like done my thing, this, that, and that, and you see people with kids, it's like, oh yeah, you people over there. And now I have a kid. It's like really, you enter the world of Harry Potter. I swear to God, everyone who doesn't have a kid is a muggle. And I'm like, you don't get it. And they generally don't. And this is not me. I'm just like, it's just different. And it's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And I think there's an extraordinary, I like to be as level-headed about it as I can. It's not easy, but what in life is easy? Do you know what I mean? I'm also very fortunate. I do have help. I don't think I could work if I didn't have help. So I'm very grateful to be in that position. And we have the most extraordinary woman who helps us raise Ellis here in New York. We don't have any family here. So, I have certainly, as now a parent, I choose not to take the martyrdom road, in that I choose to take help however it comes and however it looks, whether that's family help, or paid help. It doesn't matter. There's someone who is with Ellis if I can't be there with him. He is the best little thing that's ever happened, I think, to my husband and I. He's so energetic and rah, 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 but it's difficult and it's hard to balance. And I don't think I have a balance, but I don't think life's about like just work or life balance. I think it's like work-life harmony, and we both work really hard, but we both spend a lot of time with him as well. So we're really trying to do our best to do both. But we're not with him all day. We're not. It's just the reality of it, because we also get a lot of enjoyment out of being creative and working. So, we're really fortunate that we have chosen to keep working, and that might not be the reality for everyone. I don't think I'm doing a good job of it. I'm doing an okay job at like figuring it out, but like, that's okay. He's great and he's really happy and he's well fed, and that's perfect for me right now.
I like that idea of, instead of work-life balance, saying work-life harmony. There's something beautiful about that. And I was wondering, have you ever read The Four Agreements?
What's it about?
I think you'd like this book. So, I mean, I'm just going to read The Four Agreements to you really quick, just based off of what you were saying about parenting. So the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take things personally. The third one is don't make assumptions. And the fourth one is always do your best. And it basically, it's like a self-help book, but it is written by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it talks about the Toltec tradition of essentially like finding some sort of meaning out of life and being okay with the things that are, happening along the way. And I found that to be a pretty helpful book. And it also comes in audio form too.
Do you know what I think? I don't know what you said verbatim, but it's kind of along the lines of like, do your thing your way. And I think one of the points you made, one of the four, I think was don't, like, almost like stay in your lane, like do your thing. Don't worry about, don't put judgment, don't judge other people. So I think it's also a big thing I've learned just from being a parent for this very short space of time. And I haven't been a parent for long, so I can't speak too openly about it. But I think, what works for us may not work for others, and you just need to do what works for you. And if it means being at home with your kid all day and you love that, then do that. And if that's not your reality, then don't do that, so we're just kind of doing our own thing as best we can.
It's never like an easy sort of explanation, right?
No, I completely agree. And it's like, I've only been a parent for a year, I have little to no experience in this, and I'm sure like, parents who have like 5 kids and who are like in their 50s are like, oh, you don't know anything yet. And I don't, so it's like, we're just doing what works for us right now. And I also think it's like, well, from what I can, in the very short time I've had a kid, it's like, there's so many different seasons. Like right at the beginning was newborn, and now he's getting a bit older and it changes again. So for me, I'm like, I wasn't great, and I didn't love the newborn stage as much as maybe some other people did. But I'm really enjoying him getting older, so I'm getting much, much, much better at it, so it's like, it's okay to get better at it and learn and just make changes as you go, So yeah, we haven't read any parenting books. We're winging it. But we're just figuring out what works for us along the way. And yeah, it's very much like, I don't know if this picked up on the last bit of the recording, but yeah, it's like entering the world of Harry Potter. It's like I feel like I'm in the Harry Potter sphere, and everyone's a muggle who doesn't have a kid yet, and that's okay. It's just a whole different thing, It's just like managing a whole little different person. Yeah, it's fabulous though. Having a kid's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think a good thing to keep in mind too is just in general, like before people pass judgments on someone, you kind of have to have more of a conversation about the topic. But I think it's easy for people to just kind of like pass their judgment nonchalantly almost.
I completely agree. And I think what has changed a lot in my practice, which is, to be expected, I guess, but I've made a conscious effort. Like I don't work as much as I used to by any stretch. I finish my day much sooner. I kind of like walk out of the studio at 3:30, and I'm with Ellis, and then he goes down at 7 p.m. And when I'm with him, I'm really just with him, and when I'm at work, I just work. So I'm the type of person that needs that separation, and I need to be able to, when I'm at work, I work, and then I stop and then I'm with him, so that just works for me, and that is what we're currently doing, but I am working a lot less because I've chosen to spend time with him because I just love spending time with him. So, but, on the same hand, I can't spend all day with him because I do really enjoy work and I've chosen to work, so there's that side of it too.
Yeah. I just think there's just like, in our society, there's just such a social pressure to conform to the ways of other people when maybe that form, whatever that may be, the way that you work or the way that there's different things that are of importance to many people, right? So, I'm not going to tell people like, hey, you should probably run like 40 miles a week every single week, like that works for me, but maybe that doesn't work for everyone else. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, it's just kind of like, it's hard to, I don't know. It's hard to give advice too, because so many people are so individual, right?
Absolutely. And there's so much advice to be given when it comes to parenting. But I think what's great about what I have learned in this short space of time is like you can transfer it over to work and everything. It's just like people are doing their own thing. Just let them do their thing and just let them figure it out. Like I don't give any advice. I don't put my shit on anyone. I'm like, cool, man. Good for you. Like you keep doing you. Great. I don't know. I have little to no worries about what other people are up to because we're just swimming in our own lane as best we can.
Definitely.
Yeah. But no, it's been a really nice period to kind of slow down a little bit, which is everyone says like, oh, slow down. Like we're still working a lot, but I think now more than ever, like I'm relying on people more to help, which I don't think I did in, so much beforehand. Now I'm like, I can't do it all on my own. I need help and I need more people to help. So my team is getting bigger because I want to spend time with my kid. So I need more people to help execute things. So that's been interesting.
Yeah. That's interesting. So like on the business side, I guess I'm curious. So what other positions or whatever have you added onto your team?
So in the business side, we're about to hire like a third, like when I say third, it's like Elsa and I Elsa does a lot of the back end operation, and then I'm about to hire like a second. So there'll be three of us to kind of assist Elsa and I. So with the operations as well as the creative. And then on the drawing side, I have a studio. There's probably like 4 people who help me draw now, as opposed to there was just one guy before. And now I have 4 people who help me with base coats, which is extraordinary. And I'm such a privileged position because I'm able to afford that help, but I'm also resigned to the fact that I need the help because I now have other things in my life, So it's not just work. It's work and family, which is a really nice balance. But there's a cost that comes with that, To have the studio is expensive to run, but it's my choice and I like having that. I really enjoy having the help now. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
So, for those that are looking for jobs out there, are you accepting people's resumes for remote positions?
No. Look, sadly, no remote positions, and I'm not currently hiring. Everything's hired for. But having said that, like there might be, we may keep growing. But no, I generally like hire from not within, but like from people we know. Like very rarely is it just randoms who are just like, hey, I want to work for you. I'm like, that's probably not going to work. Like
For
it's
sure.
more nuanced. It's more nuanced than that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And especially doing something that you do. I mean, it's such a personal endeavor in a lot of ways, which requires a lot of trust. And it's not just like someone that just clocks in and clocks out necessarily, right?
Yeah,
that you would want.
It's so difficult to explain like what it is that I do and the role. Like even this other guy that we're hiring, we're actually bringing him over from Australia, and I've worked with him before once, and I'm like, we'll come over for the blonde exhibition, we'll try it out and see if you enjoy working with us and see if this works. And if he enjoys it and if it works, then he'll be over here permanently, So, yeah, for him, it's just about vibe and energy. And he's got a fabulous energy and a very calm vibe. And that goes a long way. And he's a jack of all trades. And you need to be able to do lots of random shit in here. It's not just like, I just do this. It's like, well, everyone does everything. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's great.
Life's
That's
changed a lot. Like life's different now, but it's great having people around is, I think I said before, like being a martyr. Before I'd like, I need to do everything myself. And now it's like, I would love to do everything myself, but I can't anymore. I can't do that. Otherwise I'm going to die. Like I'll send myself to an early grave. So it's like, you need to either like die or like lean in to help, and leaning into help's been really good. Really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just from the entrepreneurial standpoint too, and just like thinking about what you do as a business, to be able to delegate certain tasks, I mean, you can get a lot more done, and then you can think more about like the grander perspective of ideas, not necessarily having to do all the micro tasks, right? Which I think like that's kind of the difference between a business that is like scalable and not, is being able to do the tasks that for you to be able to focus on the tasks that you're probably best suited for, right? And a lot of the things are like ideas, right? Like you want to become like an idea machine, I would assume, right?
Yes and no. Like I still like the balance of ideas, but then also the balance of being able to draw and sit down, because I do need that Zen moment. Can I speak to that just a little bit? For example, like what I've found over like the biggest change in me and my practice over the years, when I first started, it was very much on me and like my intensity and how hard I worked, and was all on me. And what I've found interesting, the change I'd say more recently, is like you said before, I can't grow my practice and I can't grow my ideas, or let alone execute my ideas, if I'm the only one doing it and the only one taking it on. And I think how I've grown as an artist, like now I'm managing people, which I never did before. Before I was just managing myself and my time, and I'm efficient, I can do this, and blah, 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 and I was working so much. And now I'm not working as much, but I'm managing the people that help me build this and have helped me and are helping me build this. And it's really great to be able to work with exceptional people who are fucking good at their jobs, better at it than I was. But it's great to have people in the team who are helping me with this, so it's like my role before was like all on me. And now it's like, what are we doing? How are we building this? Do you know what I mean? So it's gone from me to we, which has been really interesting. And I'm not a great people manager, but I'm getting better at it, so it's, and even just to bring it back to like Ellis, our kid, I say my kid, it's our kid. It's like, it's not just on me. I'm not the only one raising him. There's my husband, and we also have help. So there's a lot of people helping with a lot of different things in our life. And we're really grateful to have all the different supports, whether it be in personal life and in work life, So it's, it's gone from like me to like a whole lot of people helping with a whole lot of things, which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, there's not necessarily a right way to do things, right? It's, there's not a right way. It's just, there's
It's just a way. It's just a way. But you know what?
yeah.
I think a lot of artists, and this is something I've been resigned to for a long time, or not resigned, but like pushed back for a long time. I think a lot of artists, as they grow and get bigger, their studios are enormous. Like when I say enormous, I'm talking they've got hundreds of people working for them. I don't have that yet, nor is it something I'm necessarily interested in. But yeah, the bigger artists get, the more people they have, in their team. And sometimes the teams are huge, and my team's small still, but it's like I'm like, wow, this is really awesome that I can have so many extraordinary, talented artists working with me. And it's like a really great position to be in, because I'm able to work with them and they're able to work with me, and I'm able to grow my ideas bigger, with all the hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's
really
great.
grateful. Yeah, the position I'm in, I'm really, really grateful for, But yeah, I don't think it's unusual for a lot of artists in my position, or even grander positions,
That's wonderful. I'm super excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. That's what's happened over the last year or so. So yeah, we've got a bit on, but like in a good way, in a really good way.
That's great. Well, where can people find you on social media, and how can people get more info on your show Blonde that's coming out?
I don't. So on socials, I do a bit on TikTok. I need to get better at that. Sorry. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram. I have a website, but I don't do shit on my website. There's never that much information about exhibitions. You just come and you just enjoy, or you don't. So there's that. But yeah, you can find out about what I do if you want to. But if you don't, I also get that. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. Volume 2. Super stoked to be on. Thank you very much.
Of course. Yeah. I love having you on. Bit, aka Justin Dosher Hopkins. Creative producer is Noah Wainwright. YouTube and creative support is by Tyler Scully. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you next time.